series in which we witness the triumphs and the tears in the marquees of village shows all over Britain, beginning in Jersey.
Flower show has a long and honourable tradition stretching back well over 100 years. There really isn't anything quite like it. From delphiniums to dahlias, each show has its own speciality, but common to all is a keen and usually friendly competitive spirit. I make my living writing about gardening, and although I've never had the nerve to exhibit anything myself, I do some judging at local shows, and I've always been impressed by the mixture of enthusiasm, hard work, and that particular brand of British dottiness which characterises many people who grow to show. For the first in this series of programmes, we've come to Jersey in the Channel Islands. It's the most southerly place in Britain, associated in my mind with Bergerac, new potatoes and bad-tempered Jersey bulls. We've chosen to start here because with its long growing season, the one thing we should be able to count on is good weather. The Royal Jersey Agricultural and Horticultural Society held their early summer flower show in the second week of June, some 3 weeks before similar shows are held on the mainland, and the tent is usually full to capacity with border flowers. However, a few days before the show, things were looking grim. Strong winds blew, and on one day there was nearly an inch of rain, which was bad news for the growers of roses and sweet peas. Grenville Thomas is a serious sweet pea contestant who's shown successfully here in Jersey and on the mainland. He's a professional gardener who exhibits in the name of his employer, Mrs. Crapp. He's feeling jolly depressed.
And the winds have marked all the blooms. Whether I'll salvage any now for this show we got coming up, I don't know, but I've been and tried to wire some up that I'm hoping I'm going to cut.
Was it the rain yesterday?
Oh, it was terrible. Rain was really devastated it here. It was really heavy rain, and of course it's hit all the buds off most of what I wanted, really. I'd probably have a vase of this lavender one, Marion. That sweet pea is an exhibitor's dream, really. But what they're looking for is a nice placement of bloom, nice size of bloom, standards, nice standard at the back. Standing up,
yes.
Standing up, and not malformed or whatever. Some nice wings, not drooping again, with a keel not opened or whatever, and all blooms looking straight at you, if you know what I mean.
I see, yes. And a long straight stem, of course.
Yes.
And that's the great beauty of cordon growing, isn't it? That you get
that stem. It's
yes.
The stem and the size of bloom,
yes.
which is so impressive, if you know what I mean.
And why do you it's not tied, in fact, to the cane at all, is it? It's on a wire. Is that to keep it straight?
This wire that I've got
yes.
attached... no, well, that's not to keep it straight at all. That is because at the present moment we've got winds here, and that is to stop this bloom moving around with the petals touching leaves or anything in its way. And of course it'll bruise it, you see. So
yeah.
I've wired that up to hold it in a fixed position. There's a nice one up the other end. There is Karen Reeve. That's a really nice maroon. Now, I'm really pleased with the size of blooms on these. These blooms are, in fact, these blooms are larger than the blooms that are coming on Marion. And, of course, they've got the stems, not as long as Marion, but, of course, they've got 20-inch, 22-inch stems on these.
It's a very good colour, too, isn't it? And rather unusual.
It is a rather unusual colour. I actually went to the National Sweet Pea Show, provincial show in Plymouth last year and showed sweet peas. And this is where I picked up this Karen Reeve. I've seen it in quite a few classes, and I was very impressed with it.
What happens if we get a bit of sunshine between now and when you cut your...
Yeah, well, this is the bugbear. You know, this is the bugbear of every exhibitor. We've had showers, and we've had the wind. We've had everything here this last couple of days. And, of course, you've got rain spots on these petals.
Oh, the sun acts as a, well, the rain spot will act as a magnifying glass.
That's right,
won't it?
yeah. And of course, if we get the sun come out really warm, with these little rain spots we've got all over the petals, of course it's going to mark them, it's going to blotch them, it's going to scorch them in fact. And I've been along the road this morning and I've shook them and I've blew on them to try and get all this.
Did you?
But it's to no avail because, I mean, the next shower that comes along, back in the same boat kind of thing. But
Can you show me some of the ones that you've already cut today, then?
well, they are down there by the trellis down here by the greenhouse.
They do look a bit battered, don't they?
Yes, the wind and rain have got at them, I'm afraid. Some lovely blooms to them, really, but they're all spoilt as regards to exhibition.
You can see the spotting, can't
yes,
you?
Yes, that's.
And it's sort of burned up at the side.
That's where they've been rubbing. That's where the petals. That's where the petals have been rubbing the leaves or the canes, or continually rubbing away, and of course it's caused it to bruise, and really hit them to pieces.
Yeah, it's a depressing prospect, isn't it?
Now this was what I was telling you about. That stem. Now that's just right. That's just what you're looking for exhibition. But of course, it's got the damage from the wind and the rain we've had this last couple of days. You can see where it's been bitten and knocked about.
Just beaten by the weather.
Yeah. I'll have something for the show, but it'll obviously be not as good as I'd wish for it to be. It's a lovely rose here called Handel. Really, really lovely. But of course, you can see we've got the damage
Same
again.
Sort of damage, isn't it? Yes.
What you can do is, if you're very, very careful, you can pull that petal away. You can get away with 2 or 3 of these petals, but of course you couldn't take half a dozen or more, because it would show, you see. I mean, they may well notice anyway that you've already done it, but you can, if you're careful, get away with just taking them off like that. And as I say, this is a really beautiful rose called Handel. You want it in this sort of a state now for showing, I was going to put them in the dark, you see, and try and hold them up a little bit, And others that I was going to leave on, I would cut them virtually up until the morning before the morning of the show then. And that's
so you've got two lots to choose from, depending.
That's right.
on how
Yes.
they're doing.
Yes. But that is the bugbear of the gardener. I mean, you've got some really beautiful blooms, but they've gone too far for the show, and you go to the show and you say, if I only had the blooms I had yesterday to come with, But,
Cultivating flowers for the show is only part of the story. The committee also has its work cut out. Chairman Barry Sylvester is directing operations in the Howard Davis Park St Helier on the day before the show. Despite everything, entries have held up well in all classes.
It's got to be done for tomorrow. Yeah, it's got to be done for this afternoon, actually. Well, I want it for tonight, yeah.
But after all the rain, the committee is worried whether the tent will be full on the big day. Do you think, though, that some will scratch, then, before tomorrow?
Yes, this is inevitable. Always over the years, we always get a big entry, then it comes down to, sorts out the men from the boys, things like that. But it always comes up with a good show, anyway.
Does the weather particularly affect the sweet peas and the roses, or will it affect the other exhibits as well?
The sweet peas and roses are more vulnerable than anything else, I think, but pot plants and things like that doesn't, and some of the cut flowers, they're pretty tough, they're okay. They come out all right.
I've noticed while I've been in Jersey that quite a lot of professional gardeners are employed in private service.
With this society, everybody competes against each other, quite happily,
Has it always been the case?
Yes, always so. There's never been a differential between amateur or professional. And of course, the amateurs are always delighted to beat the living daylights out of the professionals whenever they can.
I bet they do. Dorothy Reeve is one frightfully keen amateur who regularly beats the living daylights out of the professionals. She's won the Rose Cup in 15 out of the last 20 years.
I'm not a rose grower. I grow roses, but I grow everything else as well, you see. I've learned by my mistakes and things like that over the years. And, I just enjoy it. I'm going to just let that.
Mrs. Reeves' rivals can't understand how she gets her roses to flower so early in her little sheltered garden in St Helier. But she doesn't trust the weather, so she's been cutting her roses early. These are the ones you cut last night?
Yes, I cut those last night.
Yes, yeah. Have you got a particular favourite amongst them?
No, I have no favourites. I love them all. They, you see, they are rather lovely, aren't they?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, that's a very nice colour, isn't it?
And this is Suzuki.
Suzuki.
It's a well-formed rose, and she's got quite a few petals there. And that's the dear old Peace. Dear old.
Yes, nice popular rose of all time,
Oh, yes,
isn't
it is, yes.
Yes.
Peace opens up, whereas Suzuki will stay tight. And the same as Yellow Splendor, she'll stay tight as well.
They just put in ordinary warm water? Or?
This is soft water, rainwater. Don't put them in hard water, you know, like from the tap. Don't do that.
Especially not Jersey water. It's quite famous, isn't it, for its hardness?
Yes, but they don't like hard water at all.
No.
Give me another week, and I'd have a whole flush of beautiful roses that I could pick anything. But because of this terrible weather, of course, I've just got to pick what I've got, and that's that. Now, you look at the one that the red ones at the back there. They blister ever so quickly with their
What,
rain.
the Étoile d'Hollande on the... Can you show me?
Yes.
I see you've been doing some deadheading here.
Oh, yes. But you see, now look, that rose, you can't even take it in the house, because once it's got in the house where it's a little bit warm, then it just collapses.
Yes. Sometimes you get real balling, don't you, when the whole of the outside petals go brown, don't they?
They do.
And they won't properly
They
open.
won't open at all.
No.
Well, that is just too much rain. They can't take it.
Yes.
They'll take it maybe for a day, but that is all. They can't take it otherwise. Now, the best thing to do, you see, with that is just to cut it back.
This is the official residence of the Lieutenant Governor of Jersey. His head gardener is Brian Ferrier. I can see you've had a bit of weather damage here.
That's the rain we had yesterday all day, and the cold and everything, the wind has just sort of scorched them.
Yes, you can see how brown it's gone around the sides, can't you? And
Yes.
the flower hasn't developed properly at all, has it?
That's with the wind.
So the ones that are really still in bud, you know, if we have good weather now, they'll be the ones you'll choose, will
That's it.
Brian exhibits in the name of the Lieutenant Governor, maintaining the polite fiction that it is the employers who wish to show. He has 4 gardeners under him and keeps an impressive rose garden. This is pretty.
Yes, this is picture.
Pretty as a picture, yes. Yes.
This is more or less the perfect rose like that. That's what the judges would accept. It'd be very nice indeed. Whereas if you cut them this stage, by the time the judges come round, that would be blown and half the petals would be falling off, and they just wouldn't accept that. If you cut this one, that just wouldn't be open enough. Even if you cut it early, even the heat in the tent wouldn't open that enough. Just wouldn't be able to show.
And then, of course, to us mainlanders, they're very far on at this time in June. Do you prune them earlier than we would?
Yes, we do. We prune around about January, end of January, beginning of February.
Oh, really? Well, we normally wouldn't expect to do it till second or third week in March. But what about, I mean, you've had rather an unusual winter, haven't you?
We have. We've had a very, very hard winter indeed. That's probably why they're slightly later than what they are normal, because we couldn't prune till middle of February because of the cold weather.
Although he will show roses, Brian Ferrier's main ambition is to win the Sweet Pea Cup with the flowers he grows in the corner of the beautifully kept kitchen garden.
This year the weather's been all against me. What with the wind and the rain we had yesterday all day, and it's just making the buds drop now. You can see what's happening there.
That one's dropped off there, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
And that one hasn't really opened properly at all.
No, this is all the heavy rain we've been having.
Have you had problems with germination or anything like that, or did that all go quite well?
That went very well to start with. I had 100% germination.
When did you sow?
I sow round about September, October, end of September.
You don't have an actual date when you sow?
Well, no, it varies. I always say there's no, you know, if you're a week late or a week early, it doesn't really make any difference.
What sort of temperature were they germinated at?
At about 60 to 65 Fahrenheit.
And then once they germinated, what did you do with them then?
I put them out into the frame, because if you leave them too long, then they'll get too lanky and droopy and that.
They have to be grown hard, don't they?
They do, yes. That's why I leave them out all the winter out in the frames.
And what about the frost we had you had at the early part of the year? Didn't kill any of your seedlings?
No, it didn't. I was lucky. It didn't damage many of the seedlings, even though the sweet peas actually were frozen.
Really?
But they came back.
They were strong enough already?
Yeah. Well, they'd already been out there since October anyway, so we'd had a reasonably mild up to Christmas, so they managed to harden themselves off slowly.
Unlike Brian, many growers germinate the seeds in cold frames, not in greenhouses. The hardened-off seedlings are planted out 8 inches apart in the early spring into well-prepared ground. Rotted manure or compost and 3 handfuls of bone meal for every square yard are dug into the trenches in winter. Most exhibitors grow sweet peas by the cordon method. Only one stem is allowed to grow up each 8-foot cane, and all the other stems are removed. Almost daily, side shoots and tendrils are pinched out, so that all the plant's energies go into making large flowers and long stems.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Oh, you've got 5 there.
Yes, we've got a 5.
Oh, no.
That's very unusual.
Oh,
A 5. Beautiful.
Ah, good.
That's going to be one for them. Here we go.
John and Marie Lemoyne are comparative newcomers to Sweet Pea exhibition, although they are well known in Jersey for showing dahlias. Their sweet peas are grown against a fence and a wall, which is unconventional. But given the recent bad weather, this may work to their advantage. Their stems are not as long and straight as those grown by Brian Feuillet and Grenville Thomas, but the flowers are relatively unbattered and the colours are better.
That's lovely. There we go. Ah, we've got some really good ones here. Like this.
The Lemoynes are pleased to have some stems with 5 flowers, although the purist prefers those with 4 because they are less likely to have a bottom flower which is past its best. However, 5 is infinitely preferable to 3.
Now we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this one here, Murray.
Yeah.
And
That's very good.
the judges will like the extra flowers.
Oh, they will. Yes, they'll be impressed with that.
And that's very sensitive.
Very, isn't it? Yes,
would
it's
be.
gorgeous.
I think the attraction of sweet peas is the fragility of the flower, don't
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Yes,
They're
I mean,
fascinating.
So delicate, isn't it?
They're fascinating.
But I suppose that's what makes them so difficult to grow successfully, doesn't it? Because they're so
I suppose why
mercy
they
of the
call
weather.
really sweet pea, because they've got a nice sweet smell about it.
On the day of the show, staging of the exhibit starts early. Standard vases are usually provided, and it's a foolhardy person who disregards the importance of presentation. Traditionally, stems of water rushes from rivers are cut to length and put into vases to act as anchors for the sweet peas. In the absence of a convenient riverbank, however, most people resort to the poorest staging material, oasis. And how many classes are you going to show in then?
Just the 2. I'm going for the 2 main classes, Class 55 and Class 56. That's 6 vases, 6 varieties, 6 stems in each. And that one's 3 vases, 3 varieties with 6 stems in again. That's mainly for the cup.
You can put any more of these in, or you've got enough?
No, I need one more. Sort of go for a full one if I can find one.
Did you have any 5s?
No, not this year. No 5s whatsoever, unfortunately. But still, I've got 4s. I've had to show a few with 3s on, which normally shouldn't, but just to make up the numbers.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine.
That's
fine.
good.
How many varieties have you got?
3. 3 classes, 3 for one class and 1 for a different class, so not too bad really, but very much expected despite the bad weather. So, this is your class, love?
I cut the leaves that I'm going to use this morning, but as I say, I'm disappointed completely with the weather. It's, you know, it's really spoiled it for me.
That's it.
So you've got 6 varieties, Brian?
Yeah.
And 3 varieties.
Squeeze them out.
Feeling himself defeated by the weather, Grenville Thomas hasn't felt able to enter the most testing class, the 6 vases of 6 varieties.
The mauve and lavender, 63, that's the class that I should be putting in. 63 and just 65, if I do put them in.
The foliage is quite nice, but it hasn't got the...
nice and clean.
Yeah. It's got the quality there, hasn't it? It's cleaner foliage than that one. You've got this...
At 11 o'clock, as the judges begin their work, the exhibitors are banished. The roses and sweet peas are usually first to be judged, as they go over so quickly in the heat of the tent.
Got disbudding stumps left here. Can you see that there?
As the judges make their decisions in each of the rose classes, committee members make a tally of points. 3 for a first, 2 for a second, and 1 for a third.
A little bit of livestock with that one.
And the spot on the petal there.
Yeah, see that?
Yes. Don't say go. Is that a damaged petal or is it a...
Oh, I think it's a bit of discoloration. That's
Yeah.
a bit of damage on that one, isn't it? Foliage isn't perfect, but it's quite good quality. It's strong.
The Rose Cup goes to the person who accumulates the most points in all of the rose classes. And this year, there has been something of an upset. So, Mrs. Crabb and Mr. Thomas won the first prize. And who's second?
The second is His Excellency, the Lieutenant Governor.
Oh, I see. Yes, so
Brian
there's...
Field, the gardener.
That's Brian Fairley, the gardener.
Yes.
And what about Mrs. Reeve?
She came third.
She came third,
Yes.
With Grenville Thomas having won the Rose Cup for his employer, Mrs. Crabb, the judges turn their attention to the sweet peas.
I like those three. I think there's good colour depth.
Yes.
There's richness of colour in those. Yes, which is lost in some of the others.
The stems are much shorter.
Yes. I think that's the one that is deserving of the first award there.
You'd rather this one to that one, did you?
I think the colour on the stem length is lacking a bit there, but I think the depth of colour and the quality. There isn't the marking on the petals of those there.
John and Marie Lemoyne's method of growing has earned them the prize for the 3 varieties. The shelter they gave their flowers in this dreadful season preserved them from the worst battering of the wind and the rain. Brian Ferrier, showing for the Lieutenant Governor, was the only entrant in the class for 6 varieties. Despite the lack of competition, the judges consider that he deserves the first prize. And there's only one serious contender for the Perpetual Challenge Cup, awarded to the best vase in the show.
Those are 2 very outstanding vases of sweet peas, but the consistency of that one, in fact, comes right out when you comparing them.
It doesn't seem to have been damaged so much by the weather, does
It's
it?
not, no, it's not. It's, and they've all got, each got 4 blooms. They're all well spaced out. And we said that in a few hours' time, they're going to be really nice. And we think they'd be more outstanding this, because there's a fault in this one. There's only 3 blooms and quite a lot of damage visible. And the fact that there are only 3 blooms there, it counts down a bit, you see. So we really, it's a very difficult choice in a way, but we find that this is the one to give it to. Yes.
Despite all his difficulties and frustrations, Grenville Thomas has all but swept the board. He has taken the Rose Cup, and his Karen Reeve is the best sweet pea vase in the show.
Showing stuff in these shows, it's just that you get enjoyment from it. And it's in a sense of achievement. If you can get something that's really, really nice, you know, it gives you a good feeling. It's an achievement to be able to get that first prize with something, you know. It makes it all worthwhile then, you know.
You don't think of failure then?
No, but you may well think that you've taken something that's going to be a real good winner, and you will get there and you will have a big disappointment because somebody else has come along and they've got something that's a lot better than what you thought that you had, you know.
Well, next week, the allotments of Headley in Hampshire yield up their produce for the early vegetable trophy.